All right, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs here. Back-to-back reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, as we are legally required to say, coming off an absolutely exciting Week 1 victory Thursday night over the Baltimore Ravens. Big win, of course, for the Chiefs. But I think a big question was answered for the Chiefs. Obviously, they moved away from L'Jarius Sneed this offseason. The question mark was going to be how could McDuffie and Watson step up to the plate? The big question was Watson. He answered in a big way. This is a genius move for the Kansas City Chiefs that we're going to dive into. But first, I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, going into the regular season, a lot of pundits, a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of Chiefs fans were like, okay, how do we replace L'Jarius Sneed? He was a quality corner that played a lot of football for us, stepped up in big time moments. Obviously, we know McDuffie's a good player, but what about the other guy? What about Watson? And he, of course, had that big pass breakup that I believe Chris Collinsworth highlighted during the broadcast. But now that the data has been released, we can see that Watson, first of all, did not have a dip in performance. In fact, let's go ahead and throw up the data right here according to PFF. And here on the screen, you can see Watson's performance, Jaylen Watson's performance. Again, 2024 season, just the one game. But you'll notice it's basically identical from his performances from 2023 and 2022. So basically, he got essentially promoted, right? Full-time starter, replacing L'Jarius Sneed, gets picked on a little bit, and no drop in performance at all. The overall defensive grade, run defense grade, tackling grade, coverage grade, it's all basically the same from last year. So step one, that's a good sign. Smart move by the Chiefs right there. They knew Jaylen Watson was ready to step up. Even in a much more challenging assignment, his performance did not dip at all. But when you take a deeper look into the raw numbers, it looks even better. And let's go ahead and go to the next chart right here. It should be just a little table here comparing Jaylen Watson and L'Jarius Sneed. And you can look at their cap hit over the next 2 years in millions of dollars. Jaylen Watson on average is 0.7 million, 700,000 bucks. L'Jarius Sneed is $12 million projected cap hit over the next 2 years. Now let's compare that to their PFF grade from last year. And again, like I already said, Jaylen Watson's PFF grade through one game has unchanged from last year. So we're expecting a same performance, maybe even better, considering the Ravens are a good opponent. Their PFF grade, 68.5 for Jaylen Watson, 71.1 for Sneed. So essentially, the Chiefs here are getting a little bit less production for what is that? Maybe 18 times fewer the cost. Sneed's being paid 18 times more roughly than Watson. That's incredible value. Again, genius move by the Kansas City Chiefs. People were questioning it at the time. It looks like Brett Veach, Andy Reid and company pulled off another exciting move. Should be a great sign for the Chiefs going forward. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Chiefs fans in the comment section below. Week 1 victory, good celebration, but now all eyes are headed on Week 2. Massive matchup, of course. We've got a game that everyone's going to be watching, 4:30 kickoff against the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to hear Romo and the CBS crew talk about that one. So give us your prediction, how you think the final score, great rivalry matchup, Bengals Chiefs. Give us your prediction of that final score in the comment section below. But Miles, I'll throw it over to you now. What are your thoughts on this move by the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, Nick, I think this is obviously again another really smart move by the Chiefs. This is why they are who they are. This is why they're able to continue winning. Is you keep making the right decisions, and I think we saw this throughout the game. You look at who the Chiefs have elected to pay versus they elected to not pay. They pay Chris Jones. Chris Jones, huge part in that Baltimore game, getting pressure up the middle was a key component of that game. Not letting Lamar Jackson be comfortable in the pocket, do anything that he wanted to do. That was a big one for the Chiefs. You look at Kelsey, obviously his backbone of that team, really made some great plays. And then obviously Patrick Mahomes, that really doesn't even need to be talked about very much. But you see L'Jarius Sneed, they let him go. Really doesn't affect the Chiefs all that much. They play a team AFC Championship rematch game. They do really, really good. Tough game, but that's how you win the tough games. You got to make the right move. So I think looking at this all around the ball is such a young team, very talented, but to see the key guys that the Chiefs have said, okay, we're going to pay this person, we're not going to pay this person, and to see it envelop and see who is doing really well and who was actually not worth paying and worth moving off of, I think this just shows the Chiefs really have a front office that is leaps and bounds ahead of many other teams in the NFL because a lot of teams, they make a lot of really dumb moves, but the Chiefs, they seem to pay the right guys and let the right guys walk. And I think this past week, Thursday night, was a key example of seeing that in action.
Look, we know the Chiefs are in the middle of a dynasty. They may be on the verge of something unprecedented in NFL history. And I know people want to make comparisons between Mahomes and Brady, and some of them may be warranted when it's all said and done in terms of what their resumes are going to look like. But look, the front office and leadership from the Chiefs and the front office and leadership, Bill Belichick of the Patriots, they're very similar in their strategies, right? They move off of guys a year early, they don't overpay, and they do a phenomenal job that Patriots dynasty did. The Chiefs dynasty currently is doing, replacing players that were stars or at least big name guys with quality guys who are just as good, or maybe if they're not just as good, at incredible discounts. This is next level stuff. I think the only other franchise in the NFL that comes close is Sean McVay, Les Snead over in the Los Angeles Rams in terms of how they structure their roster. They're not as good as the Chiefs are, but I think they're very, very smart. Other than the Rams, there isn't anyone even in the ballpark of what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing. Even their top competition, which I still think is the Baltimore Ravens. I think that game showed it. The Ravens shelled out a lot of money, relatively speaking, for Derrick Henry, right? Which is sort of, most people don't think of that as a smart move, paying running backs, veteran running backs, big dollars, which the Ravens kind of did this offseason. The Chiefs, on the other hand, stick to smart move after smart move after smart move. And it makes all the difference. Every million you save here is a million you can use over here. There's an extra million for another depth piece. It's an extra million for another backup. It's all these things matter in the long run, especially when you've got the core of the team right, which of course the Chiefs do with Mahomes, Jones, Kelsey, and Andy Reid leading the whole charge. These little things, these little fringe moves, people forget this about the great dynasties. Their ability, even when their overall talent level dips a little bit, like Tyreek Hill's obviously no longer part of the Chiefs, hasn't been for a long time. When the talent level dips a little bit, these dynasties, they get really deep and across the entire board. That's what the Patriots did, and that's what the Chiefs are doing. We saw that Thursday night. I think we'll see that the rest of the season, and that's why they are still clearly, in my mind, the team to beat in the National Football League.